I'm Elliot Reeves. This is Create Greg, and you're watching The Elliot Reeves Show. Greg, thank you so much for being here. It's absolutely brilliant to have you.
Wow, thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very pleased to be, and yeah, let's bring the show.
I like it. It's funny because I think your name has come up in more conversations than anyone else. I can specifically remember you being mentioned by Jason Auld when he was on. Mike McGrail mentioned you. Neil Shoney Mack mentioned you. So I'm glad to be making this happen.
I didn't have to pay them for that, but I believe I'm supposed to. Maybe I did something good.
Yeah.
So they decided to mention me, or they just want to gossip about me. I don't know, but...
Well, I'm really looking forward to digging into your story. I know there's quite a lot to it. Your surname's not... your first name's not Create, and your surname's not Greg. So
no.
What's your actual name, and how's it pronounced?
So my actual name in Polish is Grzegorz Zienkiewicz.
Okay.
And I decided not to torture people. We try to pronounce it. A lot of people put the effort, but at the end of the effort, I said, like, can you just make it simple?
Yeah.
I mean, like, there are certain sounds in my surname and name which you don't have in English.
Yeah.
So you can actually shape your mouth to create the sound. So for us, we always Greg, but the Create Greg came up with the transition in life.
Yeah.
So I need to find some new actually social media handle for myself.
Yes.
Switching from the old one.
Yeah.
And I was thinking a lot, and I actually asked myself a question, like what I would like to do. What's my next step in life? And I just said myself internally, just go and create. And go and create Greg. I was like, create Greg. And I Google everything, creategreg.com, all this kind of.
Yeah.
And everything is available. I said, it doesn't sound like a cool company. Forget about it. and then, it stuck with you for 1 week, second, third week. And I'll check again, still available. Yeah, I will go for that. Create.
Yeah.
And people stuck to it and create is creation. Oh, making movies. You make movies. Yes, you got it. And I was it's easier than pronounce my surname. So Create Greg. And got stuck. And it started getting meaning for me and the people. And the other things which I build up, create. It's not just only create videos, be creative in the space of art, say, but create yourself.
Yes.
I've been always on the big,
Definitely.
be the best version of yourself. It's mean create yourself. And I say, wow, I like it even more.
Yeah,
so
it's
this one
awesome.
got the Create Greg
I like it.
instead of Grzegorz Zienkiewicz.
Yeah.
But
Which also works. But...
yeah, of course. That for my mom, I'm still Grzegorz, but I don't want to explain him why I'm Create Greg.
There's a book by Dan Norris called Don't Hate, Create. So I'm now going to call you Don't Hate Greg, Create Greg.
Wow. I need to check the book. Don't Hate Create.
Yeah, it's good.
What's
It's
the
really
idea
good.
behind the book? What's the...
The title pretty much says it all, rather than, I think, spending time on social media and fixating on what other people are doing, is just to create and put content out. Which is, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, the same story for me. We all consume content. And I'm thinking, how can I create my workflow around the day to create instead of just only consuming? So for me, Instagram stories is just my escape to practice, which I've been doing for the last over 2 years. I missed
your
days.
stories are amazing. The quality and the way that you sort of frame everything, and the way that you can tell that you've put a lot of thought behind it. They're not just created, kind of on a whim. It's really...
Thank you very much.
No, totally.
I try to meaning behind it, because storytelling, all the visual is just only tools. Whether I use a drone camera or Steadicam, whatever, it's just tools. But what's the story behind it? Can you give a deeper meaning? For instance, black and white means something. If you do something black and white, it might be retro. You might think about the past. And you say, if you get something, why would you put black and white? Or maybe why colorful? Why do you saturate color? There's a lot of tools. So for me, I'm using lots of daily exercise. And I believe somehow I can, at some point compress it. And then in 10, 20 years, that would be cool. That would be my journey. Of course, it would be cool to do daily vlogging on YouTube.
Yeah.
But if I would like to have my own level of how cool it's supposed to look, or how professional it's supposed to look, I would not have time. So this kind of is find the middle way.
Do you create stories every day?
Every day, honestly.
Every day?
I will tell you, I might be maybe 2 or 3 days I miss over the last 3 years.
Oh my
Even like
lord.
I like to do things for the long run. I'm just kind of like,
Yeah.
let's set 30-day challenge, 1 year challenge. And you see like on the counters, like what we've been doing for like, you know, two years straight. I just like it. I'm for the long run.
I love
That's
it.
my
I
thing.
love it. Well, I know that you've had a similar approach to meditation, but we'll come to that a bit later. Well, let's start by kind of going back to your early life, Greg. I mean, what was growing up in Poland like?
I mean, I would say one of the best experience, but I can't compare to the other experience. I mean, I had very good childhood. I got
Yeah.
very good childhood in the sense I was one of the luckiest guy because I had the chance to grow up on the movie set.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent over 10 years in film industry since I was a kid. My best friend's father, he's a very well-known prop master in Poland. So he's been taking his son during the summer to his work. So, hey, I'm his best friend. Can I go with you guys? And so, yeah, take my best friend as well. So as a kid, we were hanging out in like on the movie set. I remember my first job on the set was there was the scene, two actors playing tennis game. So I was running around just bringing the ball like a dog, like crying, hey, you've got a dog. You've got a ball. And I was so excited because like my first job, I come back, Mom, I work on the movie, so I help the actors. I brought them towel, all this kind of stuff. So extremely excited. And then, over the time, I started building my own reputation, being good, but be very devoted. And, 10 years in the film industry was is this moment, like, when your friends hang out with the other friends, so everyone's on the same age, same like life problems. I've been hanging out with people who were like famous, but not even like film industry, like people who are like 50 years older than me. And they were telling me about the life perspective, alcoholism, all this kind of stuff. So I was surrounded by adults, so I could learn. I learned a lot from them. I had to mature by being on the movie set, and that actually would shape me who I am today. That was, I think, the huge ingredient in who I am today. All this great, like, famous people you see on the camera, so have a photo with them was cool, but learning from them, listening to their stories, because on the movie set in Poland, you work like 14 hours per day.
Jeez.
Yeah, so you spend so much time for 2 months, 14 hours. You're like family pretty much, like
Yeah.
And sometimes you got 2-hour breaks, so you listen to them because they've got more to say than you at your young age. And you're like, I was like a sponge, like, whoa, damn it, wow, and the story, and like from the world, some of them like work in the USA, in Hollywood. Like, man, honestly, that was a cool time. One of the best, if not the best part of my life. I was so excited.
So did you expect that you would always work in film in some sense?
Because of this experience, and I mentioned it was the best part of my life. Honestly, as I said, 14 hours work on the movie set, and then I had the chance, for instance, after 14 hours, go to the office, to the producer. I was more than happy to go. I wanted to be everywhere, learn everything, because I was so excited, and I was different than my colleagues. Because after the summer, we all come back, and you're like, oh, what do you do? I went to summer camp. Like, I work on the movie set, boys and girls. So like, I was the cool guy, and I could make my own money, which was cool. I remember at 1 month, I earned more money than my both parents together.
Seriously?
And I was a young lad, yeah.
Really?
I was a young lad. And of course, I learned through savings, all this kind of stuff. But like, it was like adult life for me being young. And you had your first job. And then when you grow up, and I asked myself a question, I couldn't go to film school because I didn't have money, neither my parents, but I was good in math and physics. So I got the University of Technology, and I did a master's degree in programming and quantum physics. And that was a cool experience. But, once I graduated, I, built this fancy steering system for atomic force microscopy. And, got my...
What's that?
That was actually a good question. So atomic force microscopy, so allow you to take photo with atomic resolutions. So I was actually working on scanning tunneling microscopy. So for conductors and semiconductors, use a probe and you measure the current based on this nanotechnology of tunneling. So basically the outcome is you can see atoms. Basically, once you do, digital processing of the image, you can see atoms of conductors and semiconductors on the surface.
Whoa.
So I was doing like steering system, like building, soldering, and writing software. So the researchers can use it to actually scan surfaces and draw some conclusion based on what they saw on the surface, how to grow surfaces on different materials. And then once I graduate from that, like had the straight path to work for the good company and be like secure financially for the rest of my life. And I said like, no, I don't want to do it.
Really?
I mean, I was excited because it was new. It was like, you know, when I was first introduced, like I have to build this huge system in 1.5 years. I was like, wow. And it's like, that's a good challenge. I'll go for that. So I built, and then it's like, okay, so what's next? You have to build another one or like go to company. And it's like, it's so boring. Like there's no life for me because you go and sit for 12 hours and you type.
Yeah.
There's no pretty much conversation between the guys. If it's conversation, we talk about the processors. I'm like, I don't care about the processors. Can we talk about girls? Can we talk about life? And that was my perspective on that. And it's like, what was the best part of my life? It was on movie set. And I said, I want to make movies. And it's like, but you don't even speak English. And I said, that's a good point. You don't get visa to USA. That's a good point. And then I went for a weekend to Scotland, to Edinburgh, to visit my friend. It's like, wow, can I move here? And then, yeah, that was another chapter of life. And decided to graduate. Started like, you know, learn English. Because when I moved here, I pretty much spoke no English.
Mm-hmm.
That was so yeah, actually these two events, so University of Technology and growing up on the movie set. I did a lot of, you know, smart or stupid things when I was younger, but spent a lot of time, like, you know, movie set one thing, but spend a lot of time outside home, hanging out with the best friend and doing a lot of, like, you know, skateboarding as well. I was so active. and I always like to do so many things, from computer gaming to skateboard, you know, math, physics, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's cool, actually. I can benefit being now, like, you know, all the doing a lot of stuff. Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Master of none. Some. I don't know what's the answer.
I don't know if that's fair.
No.
You're good at some things.
Yeah, good at something, but like mastering is a different step. But yeah.
Yeah, I suppose. By Robert Greene's definition, perhaps.
Oh, it's a great book,
Yeah.
Master. I love that book.
Yeah. So how did you go about learning English?
The best things of being at university, I create my own way of learning. Because like with everything in life, you have to find your own routines. Like, you know, I'm a fan of green shakes, but it doesn't mean you have to eat green shakes. You have to find things which works for you. So I've never been the smartest guy, but actually on the first year of university, I was kicked out. I was the only one along with my friend. And because I thought I was so good in math and physics that I didn't have to. And I failed exams from math, being the best theoretically the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back. I actually went to work in the film industry full time, and I worked for a bad company, like really bad company. And I realized like I don't want to work for them. So for me, the way forward was to educate myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back to Union and got a very good friend of mine. He's been like so brilliant. He was one of the guys who see that like, you know, lecture. I know what's going on. I was like, I've got no idea what you're talking about, and this kind of stuff. So I have to create a way of working harder to learn what the people can, like, you know, understand. So over the 5 years, I evolved my brain to the way so I can learn new stuff, and I applied the same to English. I was so bad at English. So for final exams, private teacher refused to teach me. There's no chance, Greg, you can pass exam. And actually in my commission was my English teacher. Once I passed, like barely passed, she said like, please now go study math and physics and promise me never use English. And I would say, yeah, let's go. And I'm like, I believe there's no chance to learn English. So once I decided I want to speak, I moved here because immersion in English culture, in English speaking culture, it was the only way forward. So work 5 days in a restaurant because the job I could get with my English, even with degree, I could not get degree because I couldn't communicate. So get the job in a restaurant and go to school. And every single day for 2 years, maybe I missed a couple of days, I was like reading dictionary at the evening, like reading 2 pages.
Okay.
I would like, you know, putting on the walls words I need to memorize. When you've got the exercise book, so I don't like fill the gap. I was just rewriting the whole pages just to improve my writing. I was going drink with everyone who didn't speak Polish. If you're an English speaking person, let's go for drink. And that was funny because the more I drank, the better I was in English. But I thought it's not sustainable to learn English this way. And yeah, like honestly, I devoted and for 2 years, like day in, day out, because I knew it's the way forward. the quicker I can learn English, the better I can. The quicker I can learn English, the quicker I can move forward.
Mhm.
And interesting things, I never told you that, but one of first inspired Edinburgh, was it 3 years ago, or was it Jason, or was it Gavin? I remember I watched that and I was like, wow, that would be amazing to be on your show. And my second was like, I might not understand the whole question. That would be stupid if someone asks you the question and you would say completely different, which happened when like people ask you a question and you say completely different. It's like, I didn't ask you that. But yeah, I was like, wow, that would be cool. And you know, fast forward 3 years later, and I'm sitting here and just reminder for myself, like, man, like things can happen.
Yeah.
If you put the effort, if you do your best. Like, it takes time. English took time, you know, university took time, but the good things can happen. But for me, it's like, you know, hard work and find a way how you can be better at something.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the first time I came across your profiles. It would have been quite a while ago, I think.
It's been a while.
But then it was probably the SFN Expo with Jason when you were collaborating. I think that's maybe when I sort of paid more attention. I honestly can't remember. But yeah, but your profiles have always looked awesome. Like the quality, as I say, of your content is, in my opinion, like second to none. It looks awesome.
Thank you
everything
very
that you
much.
do is really meticulous.
I mean, like, you know, the more you do things, the better you are. That's kind of my mantra. Like the same with the English. I just with the Instagram, I promised myself to like do Instagram stories for 30 days in a row, and then I expand to 60, and now we've got like 2 years, and I'm just like, okay, I don't have time to do this, you know, perfectly curated photos on like DSLR and get to my computer. But the smartphones become better and better, and then you've got this software on smartphones, so I start using them. And I remember it was 3 years ago we went to see Gary Vaynerchuk in Dublin. He was on stage. So I was on the stage, and then they said, oh, this is like, you know, Twitter handles, all this kind of stuff. I was like, oh, I don't have Twitter. So I created a Twitter account, and as everyone was like posting, like, you know, typing messages, I was like, okay, there's so many of them, like how I can stand out. So I took the photo from the stage for everyone who was before and then Gary Vaynerchuk, and I started putting subtitles and tried to embed them in the photo to stand out from the crowd. So, and I like it started getting traction, because like from the old feed, when there was like Gary V Dublin hashtag, the one I put because it was the photo, an interesting photo done on the spot. Got noticed, and then my friend and business partner, he actually asked him the question, and like we made a t-shirt for him, like dedicated t-shirt for him promoting his book, and then we become on that day the t-shirt guys, and they became the t-shirt guys, and I was like, I was unbelievable how you could promote yourself to a certain degree, and then it's like, oh, it works. So you have to learn how to do on the spot, and then you can know a whole story with the Instagram and the practicing. A lot of things I do automatically now, but when I started like, oh, so what photo I should get, what's the angle, just practice. And this is, it looks how it looks. If you see my very, very first photo, actually was on the way to Dublin
to
see Gary Vaynerchuk, and it was me on the airport, like the classy me standing. You know, a friend of mine took the photo, and I put some like, you know, titles on the top.
So, like, you talk about doing things for say 30 days. I mean, how do you go about tracking that?
Depends. Like, no, first, you know, meditation. I've got the app for it. With the Instagram stories, like I was downloading at the end of the day. I was downloading my, like, you know, the whole day.
Right.
So actually, I had recently I stopped because like it was so time consuming, but I know you can still recover from Instagram. You've got this option to get. So basically I was like, you know, so I've got the folder when I've got every single day. So if I look at the folder, so we'll be missing like 2 or 3. I didn't take it. It was like, you know, personal reason, all this kind of stuff. But yeah, this is different things, and stop being like, you know, obsessed. But a lot of things I can track with the app. There's certain app to everything pretty much those days, so you can track it.
Yeah, that's what I wondered, whether you had apps for certain things.
But no, with the Instagram, I've got just, you know, downloaded all of them. And I think they will be worth for me unloading them 20 years.
Nice.
It's good memories.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. It was Jim Rohn always said that you should always take as many pictures as possible to try and capture that exact moment in time in your life, because, you know, if you don't sort of capture it or make record of it, then it's past, because everything's so fleeting.
Mm.
I really like that.
The biggest challenge those days is like there's so many of them, so you can spend the whole week just segregating them. And then I start to be more relentless. Sometimes I don't want to take photo, but then I need to get to my standards. I need to not Photoshop, but add the colors, whatever I want to do.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them. It's like, oh, I can instead of working on my next thing, I can spend all day curating photos.
Yeah. Good times. How much of a culture difference was it moving from Poland to Scotland?
I found Scotland as a second home.
Yeah.
And it's because of similarities.
Okay.
And certain things on the top of similarities. People are more relaxed here. People are more relaxed and more kind towards each other. This, random conversation with people. I remember my first days here, when you got eye contact with the random person and they say hello, and it's like, hello what? I don't know you. My first thought, and it's like, hey, how you doing? What? Excuse me? Because you don't have it in Poland. You say hello to people, you don't have to strangers. It's funny, when I travel to Poland, I use it. And, strike some random conversation standing in the queue to pharmacy, and it's hilarious how it works. So, this kind of similarity, I think even the history is kind of similar. As in, from the story of two oppressed countries, and there is a city in Poland called Gdańsk, and I don't know exactly what it is, but there's a connection between Scotland and the city. I know during the war, a lot of people from Scotland emigrated there. I don't want to say something which is not true, but in Princess Gardens, you've got the statue of Bear, Wojtek Bear, so the police soldier, and you've got the police soldier as well. So actually, the history turns out of Scotland in Poland is very close, and mentality, plus this kindness towards each other just made me feel like a second home. Genuinely, so when I said, no, Mom, I'm going home. Your home is here. I get that, but the second home.
Yeah.
So yeah. I spent some time with my family in Canada before I even been to Scotland, and I said no, Poland is my thing. I don't want to live abroad. And then I came here for a weekend. It was 1 year before I graduated. I was like, wow, I want to move here. Develop my English, learn English actually, and then go to USA, to Hollywood with English. That was the idea.
Yeah.
10 years ago. Yeah.
Do you think you'll still do that?
No, I mean no, because for making the Hollywood is the synonym of making movies. I could stay in Poland because I was fairly well established in the film industry. I knew people, and but I said it's an easy way forward. And why not to play big? You've got one life, and but I knew I can't get the visa. I don't speak English, so going to Scotland was stepping stone. And yeah, but now those days, if you want to be creative, you don't have to go to Hollywood. If you are good enough, you can have your YouTube channel. You can be good on Instagram. Yeah, whatever you want to do. There is there's no gateway keepers. If you be good enough, they will spot you.
Yeah, do you think so?
I mean, Hollywood is not the one person who's sitting behind the desk pick you random people. It's the industry. So if you want to make movies, but how many great movies you've seen some people done on YouTube, and for instance, million views because people like it. It's not the feature length. You can do the short film. There's a lot of creativity, and I think for me, being completely focused on the goal, by understanding why I was focused on Hollywood, because it was a symbol of making movies.
Okay.
I realized I want to go to film school. I got the visa to Australia because there's a certain film school in Australia which was affordable in Sydney, and I want to go do it. And I got my visa, everything. And I went to see a friend of mine who is a film producer in Poland, and he said, why would you like to go to Australia? I was like, study filmmaking. He said no. If you want to make movies, you need to start making movies. Yeah. It's not about studying movies. And if you really want to study, you need to find the best in London, or you need to find the best in New York, because just only few of them count. But the rest of them, actually, he asked me, name me the best filmmaking company in Australia. And I said, no idea. He said, I had no idea either. Stay in the UK and do your best. Start making movies if you want to make movies. And then I got this epiphany. We were talking until with him and his wife until 5 a.m. something like that. And then I left and I said, no, I'm staying in Scotland. So now Hollywood is not on the agenda. Okay, well, USA is the huge market, and like, you know, the best filmmakers is there, but it's so globally those days, and you can do a lot of cool stuff, and you need to do, you know, up your skills. You have to be good at what you do and have the story to tell. You need the camera, which you can buy like that. Knowledge, it's available at your fingertip. Like, you don't have to Hollywood. You don't need the Hollywood. That's my belief.
No, I agree. I like what you said before, actually. It's a Steve Martin quote, "Be so good they can't ignore you." You know, if you do something well enough, then you get the attention of people.
There is a book under this title.
Yeah, Cal Newport, yeah.
I read that book ages ago, and I like the concept. That's the truth.
I've listened to the audiobook of that, actually.
Mastery, Robert Greene.
Yeah.
Come back to the same story.
Yeah.
You have to, like, you know, going from practicing to being, from studying, practicing, and then taking to the next level, and then through the mastery. That's all about.
Yeah. So I know before you became Create Greg, you were On Man Greg.
On Man Greg, yeah.
So how
and before that, I was Grzegorz Sienkiewicz. Exactly. Evolution of me. Jesus.
Evolution.
I hope he's in a good way.
So how did you become On Man Greg? And tell us a bit about that.
That's actually, I was like, you know, so dedicated. And when I moved here and had this conversation with this friend of mine, film producer, about like, if you want to make movies, then go to school and focus on filmmaking. So with a friend of mine, we created something which was called Victoria Pictures. So it was our mean of transport to start making movies. So like, you know, to make some movies to go for, you know, festivals, or like 40-hour film project, which is very popular in Edinburgh and Glasgow. It's a great competition in which you have to make a short film over the weekend. It's a fun thing, but the creative way. So we, you know, participated in a couple of them, did some promotional videos, and everything was going well. So all money into equipment, like living like American dream. So, you know, you work in a restaurant, all money is going into, you know, budget to make movies, to buy equipment, and you know, the first DSLR came out, so you can have good quality for lower price. And everything was going well, and then I stumbled upon cancer. So that was like a pivotal moment in my life, and the things with that was one of my first thought, which I was blown away, because when I was a kid I was afraid of dying. But my first thought, I was not afraid of dying. I was afraid I don't have enough time to go to Hollywood. That was my first thought, and I was even like surprised by this thought pop. Man, you're gonna die. Like, Hollywood is irrelevant to the fact you might die sooner than later. And it was very tough time, and financially as well, because all money was going into Victoria Pictures, and all the dream, because like, you know, I didn't work too much in the restaurant. I'd rather work on the craft and skill. I have enough money to pay my bills, and I have to face reality. And then, like, you know, there's idea was, maybe let's create, like, you know, start selling some clothes. That was like, you know, very popular. Like, we can create some brand clothes. We've got the friends in Poland who have know-how and resources. And it's like, cool. So we can, you know, go together and start to sell some clothes. And then at some point I thought, like, cool, if I'm going to live like 5 years, like, they want to sell some clothes, like, no, like, why not to create some meaningful brand? So yeah, then we, like, you know, we were thinking how to name it, and then become On Man clothing. And
why On Man?
That was a marketing style, because like, we tried to find something which is catchy, which is short. You will get all handles on social media, and it's like that, okay, something clothes you can put on someone, On Man, and it's like, it sounds good. And then, like, you know, it's no point to trying to spend another year for coming out. Like, you can get onmanclothing.com, all On Man clothing, you could get handles on social media. And that makes sense. And following, like, you know, some of, you know, Gary Vee advice and all this kind of, like, you know, other social media gurus, like, if I can build brand around myself and On Man Greg, it will definitely help the brand itself. The whole concept was like, you know, the fitness helped me a lot back in the days when I had to fight with cancer. And it's like, if we can spread that message, and if I can be a role model, if I can push through and prove it's doable, and then at the back of that you've got sportswear brand. And so yeah, that was the whole story. So going through that process, becoming Allman Greg, and Allman, so lead to the name of the company.
You spoke a couple of times about cancer, Greg. I mean, I remember the first time I met you, and I had no idea about that. And you told me about it, and I have to say I was kind of blown away and quite shocked about it. I mean, how did that originally, how did you make that discovery?
I had the melanoma, so it was a skin cancer. And I had the mole on my arm, which I just didn't like it. Almost on the level of when the end of the sleeve, the short sleeve ends, and it's like irritating. And I said, like, I just want to remove it for the sake of just removing. And that's actually will be hard, because according to standards, it was the normal one. And actually, my GP who convinced me not to do it, because it's according to standard is a normal, like, not danger mole. But he said at the end, like, but it's your call, Greg. And I was like, just remove it for the sake of removing it. And what they sent actually to two different laboratories, because they were surprised what they found, because it was the melanoma in the medium stage, which didn't look at the first sight what they found. And yeah, from then I have to go, through surgery and all this kind of procedure. So yeah, I just paid attention and made the right call at the right time. And the word was scary, because if I was convinced not to remove it, it would be with me. But it was in this stage, if 1 or 2 years later, it might be too late. That was completely longer story with that. I mean, like, with the whole way of treatment and all the thoughts. It's a long story.
Was that were you in Scotland at the time?
Yeah, that was in Scotland. And actually, hats off to NHS. Like, a lot of people, like, complain on NHS, all this kind of stuff. It's not perfect. Nothing is perfect. But they did a good job. Because they organized, surgery in 3 weeks, and they did their best. They weren't perfect, but there's a lot of things we can always be improved. But yeah, they saved my life. And GP who had the first contact with, and we had this conversation, and he feel kind of guilty for that. But yeah, we had this conversation, and what I believe, because based on my experience, he can learn. Maybe he can, save life of other people. So yeah, that was, as I said, kind of coincidence. My education, awareness of that, and knew like something is not good, and made the right call. And then I have to follow the whole procedures to win.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you cast your mind back to the very day that you were first told that you had cancer, I mean, what was that like?
That was there's a cool, like, you go to Lidl and you do shopping, and then you get a phone call. Like, I had actually my GP, the numbers with like NHS logo, so NHS logo pop on the screen. It's like, hey, not too very often NHS phone you, like, never phone me. And I answer like, oh, hi Greg, like, can I see you today? It's very important. I said, okay, like today, now, like now. Oh, okay, like, and I said to my friend, like, they want to see me now. Like, how often GP want to see you now? So, I went to my, general practitioner, and when I entered the room, he like apologized me, and he has a bad news for me, all this kind of stuff. He apologized me so many times. So at some point, like, it's your fault, man, because you apologized me so many times. And I was like, I don't even know what I was like. I was like blank. My mind, like, wow, what's next? And one of the first thoughts was, because I was smoking back then. So I need to smoke, like, to ease, like, relax. And I was like, wait a second, boy. You've got two options, die or live, and you want to go for cigarette. I know the skin cancer is not related to smoking, but smoke is one of the first causes causing cancer. So you either want to live or die. So on that day, I made the decision, no more smoking. And I said, okay, I'm not going to quit. I promised myself not to smoke for a year. my theory behind it, like if you say never and you fail, you're disappointed for the whole period. But I said, I'm going to for a year. And every single year I renew that. So if I fail just 1 year. I didn't fail. I never said I quit smoking. I said I'm not going to smoke for a year. It's been 4 years already, not smoking year by year.
Wow.
And there's so many thoughts, like your imagination, you're going to die. And I remember when we left and we were walking, I had the thoughts like, I don't have enough time to make my dreams come true. And promised myself not to Google stuff, because I've got no idea who's sitting and giving advice. So I had no idea about the cancer, I knew the name of the cancer, but I Googled nothing. I didn't even know was it curable or not curable. And when I went to hospital to the specialist and get the knowledge from specialists, so I was like sitting in the waiting room. That was horrible, actually. And then you've got tons of leaflets on the wall, like with different cancers, like different topics related to cancers. And I was like, oh, melanoma, this is mine. So I pull it and I'm going through it. And I'm like, okay, how you cure it? And there is no page how to cure it. I'm like, oh my goodness, it means I'm going to die. It's just a matter of time. And it's like sweat is going through me. And nurse come on, no, it's not your leaflet. Like we run out of your leaflets, but your cancer is not at this stage yet. That was honestly when I didn't find the page. How you cure that? It was like advanced form of it, how to live with it. And I was like, oh my goodness. And then when you go to see a specialist and he greeted me at the entrance, with the handshake. And for me it was like from movie, slow motion. You go into room and you see this huge comfortable chair which people use for chemotherapy. I've seen on some photos, videos. You have a seat and you've got this huge box of tissue. And I was like, holy shit, they're all for me. And you see it, and it was such an awkward moment. For me, it was like everything foggy through slow motion. And then you go if there was 4 guys in the room, one of them would be dead, so you've got 75% chance and all this stuff. And after they give you option, which one would you like to pick? I was like, okay, if you were me, which one would you pick?
Yeah.
And this kind of stuff. So, I decided to go for surgery because that makes the most sense. And the surgery went clean. So, my cancer
did you need
jumped.
Chemotherapy or anything?
No. Because they removed 5 sentinel nodes, they removed 2 centimeters of muscle, and they didn't sign that. They didn't find any sign that the cancer transferred to the other organs. However, it's never 100% certain. So I'm in this 5-year program. So they keep an eye on me, first 3 years was every 3 months, now it's every 6. And if they don't spot any differences in body and potential places when the cancer could spread, the assumption is that the cancer was removed. So that was I was always active, but that was a wake-up call.
Yes.
And wake-up call to you need to push harder if you want to go after.
Yeah, this was going to be my next question, was that, how has that experience affected your relationship with life?
I mean, that would maybe sound weird to some people, but cancer was one of the best things that happened to me in my life. We all know about the mortality, but it just was a huge reminder. It was no jokes, the statistics, and I'm pretty good at statistics with the degree in science. And it's okay, so we've got 4 people standing in the room, one of them is gone, and that's a lottery, but that's the odds very high. But I knew that there's a lot of mental game with it. I knew that it's all this placebo effects. I educated myself. I'm a huge fan of reading, so I've been reading a lot, and educating myself about the cancer, in general about the life, how to create the best version of yourself. And I knew there's a lot about the mental game, and I said to myself there's two options for cancer: either die with me or die without me. Both cases is bad for cancer. So I'm saying I can do nothing with regards to treatment. They give me option, the surgery, chemo. But if I get my body in shape, in mind in shape, I will increase the chances. It's simple. Because, chemo is poisoning your body to poison cancer. But if your body is in good shape, and just twist me in a way I can do a lot with it. I can quit smoking. I can feed my thoughts, like, positive thoughts, and I can go into different things, like what's the alternative, how I can become physically and mentally stronger, which just increased my chances. So, and since then it was like, my like narrative in life, the way I start thinking like how you can be stronger physically and mentally, how you can, because I never know, because like it was out of the blue. It might happen again, or I might still have a cancer or different cancer. And can I be ready? Can I go through chemo tomorrow straight away? I believe I can. I'm strong enough. My body's strong enough. No, so yeah, that was the biggest shift. I was always like, kind of like in shape, but I took it very seriously. Of course, like, I don't live like a monk. I mean, say 80-20 rule. If, for 80% of the year you do your best and 20 you just, slack off, and you are still good. Just increasing the odds.
Yeah. Well, so we've kind of touched upon this then. I mean, what are your daily practices, your routines, your habits?
They change over the years, and I still try to like, evolve them. The worst one I don't practice, actually, I would mention about sleep. I don't have enough sleep, but I read ages ago, I think it's probably the bad book, that you can't die with the lack of sleep. I know this recent research they point differently. But the things I would like to fix, but the things which works for me at the moment, it's food. I try with this green shakes and experiment with a different one. Food routines, like I went into meditation and everything. When I try to do 30-day trial or 60-day, and then try to stick for the long run, because if you keep something for the long run, then you can see the results and then you can judge it. How I can judge like meditation after 30 days or 5 days, or the same with the shakes, and educate myself. Like the routines are the routines. So like try to wake up early, get the shake, get the exercise, but like rule of thumb, like feed yourself with the positive thoughts, hang out with the good people, and I firstly at the beginning I was like very obsessed with this strategy, and that's like even like with the calories I start counting, monitoring, like it's not sustainable. You have to educate yourself, and you have to then use the rule of thumb. Okay, so waking up fairly early to do your routines, whatever it will be for you, might be like everyone knows the healthy eating. More or less. If not, you can go. I mean, you have to just define the reason why to do it. I've got a strong reason, and as long as you find a strong reason, I think we shouldn't pay too much of attention to details and strategies. Keep the overall picture. Like, what would you like to achieve? If I'm going to lose weight, or I'm asking why. Like, so I can tell you why I will do that, but what's your why? And then start small. Start small. If you New Year's resolution is my favorite. Like, okay, I'm going to lose weight, like eat this, do this, like, wow, focus on one. This is for me, like, I because every time when I try to do like so many things at the same time, I fail.
What are your reasons for doing anything now then?
Cancer is like, that was the wake-up call, but the place where I come from, when I grew up, I got instilled this ambition. It comes from like, from home. It comes from surrounding. So I've got this huge ambition of being not the best against someone else, but the best of myself. And like, grew up and inspired all this, like, working in the film industry and watching like, Hollywood movies, like, being, inspired with the Braveheart movie and the other one. I said, like, then educate myself with the literature. So, you read biography of these amazing human beings. And I remember the first I read, actually, what convinced me to go to Scotland was Brian Tracy. There was a guy who was very popular in, I think it's late 90s in Poland. He was like one of the first coaching industry, creating coaching industry. He's got this how to eat that frog and a lot of productivity. And his story is amazing, actually, because he traveled between in his 20s, and then at this 30-odd, he came back to USA with all the experience. He went into sales, then he built his big business. But he's a very interesting story, and it got me so much. Like, life is so rich. You can go, you can learn English, you can do all this kind of stuff, but it all comes down to ambition. How bad you want, how bad do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something, I mean, like, setting up myself with all this kind of task for 30 days, 60 days. It's just how I can be better
Yeah.
at certain things, how I can master certain skills. So even, touching a lot of, subjects in my life, and it just, comes down to the person I am, but everything comes from like, be the best at the university, be the best in English when I decided to go. Now, like, if I want to be creative, how I can take to the next level. I cannot, just only based on what I've learned in the past as a young kid, how I can take to the next level. So to do that, you need to practice every day. So how I can create it, I can use like, Instagram to say practice on a daily basis. And then I see improvement and great feedback from people like you. Oh, Greg, it looks nice. And, okay. Because it means I put the effort, I practice. So to look at even better, after good feedback, I need to do more and more.
So what's the future for Create Greg?
Ooh, I think no one knows that. I mean, like, today I had actually conversation with Mike McGrail, and we decided, like, try to catch up on a weekly basis to do. And one of the things I mentioned actually to him, like, I realized recently, the place where I got the skills I acquired, the person I become, got me to the place where I am right now. If I want to go to another level, I need to start behaving differently. I need to acquire new skills. And my biggest question at the moment is, what kind of problem I can solve for people? How I can use my skills and knowledge? Because I would not just only filmmaking, editing, that's the tools which are the closest to my heart. Storytelling, either video, photography. Video speaks more to me than photography. But it's just only tools. But what kind of problem I can solve with the tools? And it's anyone can shoot video. It's not like competition who can shoot the best color graded video.
I never went to film school either, Greg.
I don't, like, it's, you can Google that, can go on YouTube. So like, what kind of problem I can solve? And I got fascinated, like, what's your why? Why you are here? What kind of mission? Like, it evolved over the years, like, but I got to the place, okay, I acquire all this kind of skills, how I can use them to bring value. And it comes from, I think it's Tony Robbins. He said, like, 6 human needs. You've got certainty, uncertainty.
I love these.
You've got love, connection, significance, and then
growth and contribution.
Which there's this two of the spirit and growth, which I've been, like, practicing throughout my life. But whereas contribution, how I can contribute. Because I think even if you strip down to us as a society, we all have different skills, different traits of character. And it's not like creating business and selling. This is just selling, is just exchange. I mean, what you can provide. If you are good, you might be a lawyer. It means like helping people when they're in trouble with law. If you are a doctor, you can help when you're sick. Like, if I'm creative, can I tell the story which inspire people? Can I help good businesses to tell their story so they can increase sales to do more good? So, I've got the answer at the back of my head. It's just asking the right question, which I always believe it's not about the answer, it's getting the right question. Then verbalize it and then see where it goes. How do you feel about it? Apparently it's good, like, once you, get your why, you just write it down and then check whether it stick for you after a week, 2 or 3, and you can always change.
Yeah.
But my stage is like, the things with Unman didn't work out in the way I wanted. Now is another stage of Create Greg, and I still need to redefine that.
Yeah.
Redefine that, like, what I really want to make an impact. Once I, like, find it and I'm, like, so close to it, then just nail it. Just go after it like crazy. There is some ideas at the back. One of them is project. I will actually mention first time. There's a few people I talk about. It's something which I call Small Heroes.
You've mentioned this to me before, I think. Yeah. So what does that look like?
I don't know technically how it look like, but it's like, at the back of my head, again, in my imagination. So basically, I had this, I've been, like, posting a lot of these Instagram stories. There's a friend of mine who was like, he had very bad time in his life. And there was, for me, back in the day when I was preparing to Spartan race, to challenge myself. So I was going to the gym every single morning. So, like, posting gym stories. He saw it, and he saw it every single day, and he's like, okay, like, I hate my life, but what I can do, I can beat Greg. So he go to the gym and, to be ahead of me and do the gym. And he was like at 6 or something, and I was like 5:30. Damn, Greg was again, before me. And he told me the story when I bumped into him at Startup Summit in Edinburgh. And I was like, wow, like, I had no idea. I had, like, not even inspired, but I had influence. I had no intention to, like, hey, wake up at the morning and do the gym. I was, like, doing for myself, like, creative aspect. And I was seriously waking up at 6 preparing for Spartan. That was the fact. And it got positive. And I realized, like, what we do, how we behave. This is how kids learn. You don't care what you say to kids. The kids observe how the parents or the people around them behave.
Yeah.
So it's like how you can influence people, not but saying, but showing. So for me, okay. So instead of me, hey, you're supposed to work out, like, go to the gym at 6 and just, document that.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's more of a people who can inspire. And example I give it, like, there's like people, top sports people, say Andy Murray. He is like might be highly inspirational person because he's a great achiever, like one of the best tennis players in the history, no doubts about it. But I believe there's certain people might use him because he's so good and it's very hard to get to this level. And that's the truth. It's not like, I know a lot of people might have ambition, but rarely anyone got to this level because it's a top level. It's in like dedication, skills, talent. There's very hard, but it doesn't mean like a lot of people can enjoy the journey of trying to become the best tennis player, the football, etc. But they can use them somewhere. Oh, that it's him. It's like, he's from, I don't know, rich background, or he's got more talent than I have. But there's a lot of people around us in Scotland, for instance, when they do very well, and they're as you as me. So if you've got the young lad who's going to do the boxing class and he want to be a professional boxer, but he's never going to be. That's for instance the fact, but he's pushing every single day. And you've got the other kid like, oh, I don't have time. Like, wait a second, your colleague who lives next door, he can do that. So bringing the story of the people in interesting way, in cinematic way, in my way, I would say, if I can bring it and create, I don't know, is it show? I don't know exactly what would be the format. I've got some ideas, but like bring it on a monthly, bi-weekly basis and try to, like, not to do another the same, do something different based on skills I've got. Something which will be more creative. But at the end of the day, one of the main points for me is give people takeaway.
Yeah. You're big on that.
I'm big on that because you decided to watch something on even for them, it's like if anyone can benefit from our conversation, have a single takeaway, have a certain thought, I think is crucial. And with this one, like people can watch it. The same comes like, entertainment. If you blend education into entertainment, that's the all about.
But so this is an interesting one because I mean, my view on it is probably sort of softer than yours. I think I personally think that you can learn something from something that they haven't necessarily gone out of their way to try and give some sort of takeaway to you. Do you see what I mean? So, for example, I could watch an episode of EastEnders, and I don't think they've gone about that as in terms of, people need, some sort of takeaway from this, and yet I can still learn something if I choose to.
I mean, but maybe positive or negative from... yeah, I agree that it's your decision to make. But the same, depends what kind of programs you watch, what kind of books you read. Some of them, it's not like they will end with as a bunch of takeaways, but they read and applied. Like,
okay,
the best. This is with storytelling. This is a lot of people. It's not about telling how the story ends. The best movies actually guide you through the movie. So they tell you who was the bad guy. If you discover who is the bad guy, you are into movie. And the same, if you can create the takeaway, it's not like, okay guys, and then exercise at the end. Like, no, if you can create the story and the person jump to the conclusion you're supposed to exercise, then you won. Because like we are resistant to telling us what to do. And this is the
so
best
true.
movies. It's not like, at the beginning of the, by the way, this going to be the bad guy, just to tell you in advance. And
Yeah.
they spoiled me the whole movie.
Yeah.
But if you want a movie, and at the end of the movie, I knew who was the bad guy. I knew. And then you go like, you enjoy the movie because you become the part of the movie. Because it forces you to think, like, what's the good Hollywood movie? They need to be like violent and sex. And like, and even with this, like the blockbusters, you need to have romantic aspects. So if the guys want to go car chase, then you be like, love aspect of the movie so they can go with the girlfriend. So she will enjoy as well. So for me, if you create the content, try to make with intention to leave some people with takeaway. Not like written or tell them straight away, something which will leave them with something to digest, to think. And I think is even like it's not now, but maybe they on the way back or just leave them with this. I get that.
What's your favorite movie and why?
Oh, Pursuit of Happiness. That was.
Really?
Oh yeah, that was. I said actually to myself before I was diagnosed with cancer. I said like, I can't die until I make the movie like Pursuit of Happiness. This movie like inspired me a lot, and it's actually one of this would show you the story, and the story is based on a true story. And I love the last scene when we see how our protagonist went through how hard was it, and then at the end they ask him when it was easy, and he with tears he's now it wasn't easy. But it gives you these takeaways, like how hard it is. And plus, of course, it's based on true story. Will Smith with his hand is brilliant. And I was like, wow, I would love to have this kind of story through struggle, and then hopefully win. And that inspired me a lot. But for some people, there was like just movie. It just related to me. The same like what you said, with takeaways. Something you watch might leave you with some deep takeaways, would transform your life. But some person it's end. It was boring. So this one made a huge impact. I've got even poster. Every time when I wake up, I see the Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah. In front of one. Actually, not at the moment. I'm going because I used to have now just a bit of refurbishment. I started living with my girlfriend, and it's not there, but I'm going to put it in my office. Yeah. So every time have it on the wall. I don't mean need to staring all day.
Yeah.
So just
a reminder.
Remind, exactly. We've got all the bits and pieces in our home office to remind us about certain things. And this one is for me, this old symbol of Hollywood, of making movies. And the whole journey from the struggle throughout the life to make the dreams come true, to help family. That's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie for me. And if I can create the content in this kind of vibe, I believe I found my thing to do and contribute. If I could do anything and inspire a person as I got inspired watching that movie, I think I did my thing on this planet.
So it's like a legacy piece.
Legacy piece. Yeah. I never thought I would like to be never I want to be legacy and be on the front cover of some magazine. I never was in front of the camera. I remember when I was 5 years ago. 5 years. When I was to want to go to Tony Robbins, so I go to this kind of pre-event to Tony Robbins, and they were selling tickets, giving discounts, etc. And there's a lot of cool people there who are into self-development. And one of them was vlogging for YouTube, and he can I even with tablet actually to record? He press record, I look in the vlog and stop. And silence, and okay, I will switch it off. I was and then I was okay, I have to probably learn how to talk to camera. Yeah. And it's if this is the way how I can move my dreams forward, I can learn everything. If this requires to speaking in front of the camera, I will learn that. And yeah.
So did you go to the Tony Robbins event?
I did.
What was that like?
Well, it was 4 or 5 years ago. It was Unleash the Power Within. Yeah. In London, 3.5 days. One of the best invested money, hands down for that. And there was over 5,000 people. And what I love about them, because you can get your money back after the first day. You can get your money back. If you don't like it, and you can come back. What you have to do, you have to get the book they gave you. You have to give it back. And if you have to, give them back the passes, so you cannot come back on the second, third, and the fourth day. But the first day was 14 hours with him on the stage. I ate nothing, and I didn't even go to toilet. I didn't want to waste even a single minute. And it ends with walking on fire. And, you've got then the second day, which is not with Tony Robbins, with the other guy by the school. And the third day is the most important day, is the Saturday with Tony Robbins. And then is the Sunday when then they explain what actually happened, why did it happen. There is no random things during that event. It's the whole immersion. And I was given advice, okay, once you go there, let it go. Like, they're not going to hurt you or kill you. If they ask you to jump, just jump. You will understand on Sunday why you had to jump. And it's not to make a fool of yourself or something.
Yeah.
It's to let go of resistance.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, the vibe was incredible. I'm still like, there was like 7, 8 of us, like people from like different walks of life. And we just like, spend this weekend together. Unbelievable. And you speak to, strangers, and they design the way so you like, talk about the subjects and dive deep into your behavior, your soul, and try to understand why you're behaving the way you behave. And they help you with the tools how to do it. It's unbelievable, honestly. And I don't know how highly I can recommend that.
What was the biggest thing you learned from it?
I don't want to like spoil too much because what
I wanted to say and what I should have said is, what was the biggest thing you learned about yourself?
On the third day, you have to dive into yourself. I don't know whether it's the one discover more about my ambitions, what was the painful moments in my life, what like you kind of know that, but the whole story is to go deep into this through meditation, through all this kind of procedures, through days, to go very deep down to feel the pain, and then to recover from the pain, and like to move forward, to understand relationship which didn't work out in the past, the bad things will happen to me, low self-esteem, where they come from. It's just the huge boost of energy. It's like a shower. You cannot take a shower or you cannot read one smart or personal development book and you are set for the rest of your life. It was this moment with the vibe of the people. Everyone has his own struggle and problem, and you hear the people's stories and they listen to your stories, and you are more prone to open, because I'm not going to see this guy. Even if I said the most embarrassing thing, probably stay between us, and he will share embarrassing things, and they create the environment which you are more prone to share with people. He's been doing that for 30 years, and he nailed the concept. And it's honestly, everything is just to get to the deepest part of yourself and admit to yourself, admit to the world that something went wrong, and how you can be better than that, how you can get this momentum in life, how you can start believing in yourself, how you can go and change your life. It's not read, go to inspire, then go sleep, wake up, and I don't feel like it. And get this momentum. It's like a shower, you honestly. And this is a full immersion. So reading book is one thing, but being with the 5,000 people, jump, sing, and all of them, they have this one purpose of being better.
I need to go. I definitely need to go. I've been to events similar, but I've not been to Tony's one. I'd love to do it.
One advice: as much you can pay to get the closest to the scene, because of the vibe. At the end, it's not the same energy, and the energy is the key. Energy is the key. Honestly, man, 14 hours, no food, no drink. No, I had some water with me, but no toilet. Didn't want to waste. And he was on the stage for 14 hours. Nothing, because I was more passive comparing to what energy was he like. And then on the Sunday, you understand what happened. And they say, that's clever.
What's your self-esteem like now?
I mean, through this kind of events, through meditation, through educating myself, I you might be still scared, going in front of the camera. You might be scared, but I learn more how to deal with it. So meditation, which I've been doing for
What's
over 2
your
years.
streak?
Actually, I broke my streak recently.
Did you?
I did.
What?
I,
was like 600
injured
days or
I
something.
injured my back, and I spent like most of the day in the bed, so I didn't start my day with. It was like almost 700 days. In a row.
Seriously?
I broke it, and I'm now on the day 7th. But I'm still want to go to 1,000. I mean, it just takes me another,
A few years.
993 days if I don't break it. I mean, like, I was like angry to break
Were
it. I
you?
was silly things how I broke it. It happened to me previously when I was like 200 something. But I said, because what I've done, I reframe it in the way, got it from Tony Robbins as well. Reframe it like, okay, what I can learn from that. What I can learn, I broke it, and it's like it's not about having score because I broke it doesn't mean like this almost 700 days is gone, like wasted, like oh you don't benefit from it. Like
Yeah.
my meditation got better. I got better present to the moment, and I'm using Headspace, which I highly recommend. It works for me. There's different one. I believe meditation is for everyone. Not depends on the level of life you are. You might be too young or might not, but it at some point in life it will definitely work for you. I'm certain about it. This one actually worked for me. I don't even try to find better. It works for me, as simple as that. 10 minutes per day, and because it's a guided one,
Yeah.
so every single day you've got the guy who got through this app, forgot his name.
Andy Buddicombe.
Yes. So he give you this pieces of advice, and sometimes they are like perfect to the day you're down in the dumps, and he just throw the certain knowledge, and you're wow, this is what I needed. And I'm very busy active person, and like I believe I'm hyperactive, which actually is good and bad because I can do too many things, but too many things might not push me forward at the pace I would like to go, because
Yeah.
like you are spread yourself too thin. And I said, cool, let's focus on this one. And coming back to your question, actually, because I diverted a bit, it's the shortcomings will be always. I always will be scared or don't believe in myself, or like I'm not as good creative, or you see other people on Instagram, they're like hammering right now. So, oh, I didn't post today, like I supposed to catch up. You've got this, doubts, or some people, business strive, and your new business is at the early stages. But I developed very good self-talk, and rule of thumb, simple, like the things what we sell to ourselves, we would never sell to someone else. That's for me, like the way how I could sometimes criticize myself, I would never tell to you and anyone else, because it would be unpleasant. It doesn't matter when you're right or wrong. It will be unpleasant. You don't speak to people like this, but you can speak to yourself, calling yourself this or that. And I spotted that, and I started like, for instance, I can give you advice, which I can give you business advice, like, well, great, but why you don't the same business advice to your business? Yeah, but no, like we can give advice to others which we don't use, or we can criticize ourselves in the way we'll never criticize other persons. Like, what's your self-talk? And I educated myself, so I've got this knowledge, which I can more than happy to share with someone else. But why not to share with myself? So if I'm, down, or I see someone, or I'm envious, or am I scared, like going even for today's interview, it's like, okay, like, ooh, I got stressed. It's like, oh, why do you get stressed? Because how people perceive you, or you had some, you plan in the way, or you may be afraid you stumble upon, or you don't understand something. So, okay, so what's actually my outcome? Let's go try to relax and try to contribute. Maybe if someone watch and take the benefits from that, and do your best.
Yeah.
And that's all. And honestly, I've got this literally, sometimes I believe that people, if you sit next to me, might hear it when I'm talking to myself. And yeah, I think it works for me. And I've got all this knowledge. How many times you can read this book? One of my targets, I'm fairly proud of it, was Audible. At some point, I probably everyone realized that I love to hit the targets, like so for me it was like, because you've got the counter, how many minutes you listen. So I was like, okay, I want to have in total over 1 month. And I hit that with personal development books, psychology, and all, to be better version of myself. And, of course, if I knew this knowledge like that, I would be probably one of the smartest and the richest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Because you have to repeat day in, day out. But I've got deep down this kind of knowledge which I can help myself.
Yes.
I just need the self-talk.
Yeah. Totally.
Self-talk, like if someone was afraid to, I don't know, go to interview and open the business, what I would tell that person, what I would tell that person to do, I would probably say something which might be worth to listen or use it. So please tell the same to yourself. And I think we've got a lot of answers.
Yeah.
So I think the takeaway, like, people start talking to yourself in a nice way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm very bad. I was like, honestly, the way sometimes how I can sell to myself to motivate, like, for me, it's like, the hustle thing for me is the big one.
Yeah.
To push myself to the limits, but sometimes I need to just, okay, is it beneficial for me or just not?
Mm-hmm. Trying to remember what my next question was going to be, Greg, because I had one that was of interest. Yeah, you mentioned Audible and books. What's your favorite book of all time?
Oh, damn! It depends on the period of life. With the movie was is it like, Mastery? I actually listened to at some good moment in my life.
The audiobook.
The audiobook.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, there was so many of them. Like, honestly, because, and there is some theory, I believe. Like, apparently there is, like, I think it's 14 books you can read again and again, and there's enough for the whole your life. Because at certain level of your life, you are prone to listen certain advice.
Yeah.
So there's certain books I read, and I didn't spot something which I, like, realize reading 2 years later, listen to 2 years later. Because when you've got broken heart after relationship, you are more prone to listen advice or everything try to help you out. If you build business, like, you'll probably, be more focused on things which is related to business. Like, when I was like listening to Ask Gary Vee book,
Yeah.
I like a lot of things which apply to Onman.
Yeah.
Which works for more if I had bad time in my life through illness. So I remember I was listening to Richard Branson biography, and he's like, the life he lived, he's still living, of course. It was unbelievable. And I was like, wow, that was inspirational one. So at this time of my life, like, I need more biography to push through the life. And sometimes you need something which is like, knowledge, fast thinking, slow thinking, Daniel Kahneman. It's just helped me to understand how my brain works, why I'm afraid of something, what's the short, what's the fast thinking. Chim Paradox was another great book. And it was at this time of life when I had a question and I couldn't find the answer, and I found that book and I got it. And then listen to reading different things, depends on what stage of life I am. But I can't point, like, this one was like, the Brian Tracy, when I read Eat That Frog, was like, when I was younger, it inspired me to move to Edinburgh. So different books, different stage of life. I think whatever you would like to read, like, find something which someone recommend, or something of a value, non-fictional, read it and see how it works for you. I think if you struggle with something in life, these books will bring you answer. Any of these kind of books, because you will be focused on finding things which will help you, or give you the answer to the question you've got.
Yeah.
What's your book at the moment?
Oh man, I sort of go through periods of listening to one or reading one and then moving on to another. So I kind of dabble in different books at different times, rather than just focus on like one book. Do you know what I mean? So rather than just cover to cover, I don't know why I'm seen to be the sort of shiny object syndrome type person that's always like, oh, but there's that one. And there's so many books, man, So I'm trying to think where I was.
Do you have like favorite one? Like the one you will point, like in time in history, like you read that and like, wow, that was like the game changer.
Yeah, probably How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's just there's just so much good stuff in it.
Yeah, and it's simple.
Yeah.
It's not magical, but it's simple. Yeah, I read that book as well. And you see, I forgot about him. Yeah. But there's the other one he wrote as well.
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
I should know. I can't think of the top of my head. The ones most recently, Russell Brand's Recovery, like his book about addiction.
Wow.
Really good. Peter Sage, who I've had on my Inspired Edinburgh show, The Inside Track, which is an absolutely incredible book, I have to say. And I think there was one other that I was... But again, I'm a bit like... on any given day, if I'm in a certain mood for something, I'll maybe just focus on that style of thing, you know?
Okay.
Like, I prefer probably listening to audiobooks. It's just so consumable. My phone's always on me, and I have my AirPods are on my car keys.
Okay. But
So it tends
do
to
you,
just be
you do
like...
breakfast, whatever, and you listen to audiobook or?
No, it's not. It's not as like structured as that. It's just
Okay.
more like when I've got space in the day. I tend to do it like a bit like my meditation practice. It's not sort of rigorous or habitual in your way, and I think that I probably require more of that in my life. More of a, you know, these are my like wake up at a certain time. This is what I'm having for breakfast. I'll then meditate, and then, you know, I've got certain things that I want to achieve within the day. My days tend to be a bit more fluid than that. And I don't think that's always necessarily a good thing.
But I would give it a go for 30 days and then you
Yeah,
see how it goes.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's such a good approach.
One of the things which I will give to not everything at the same time. If you would like to change one habit, say waking up, stick to waking up.
Yeah.
Don't
yeah.
add exercise, don't add diet, because it will be overwhelming. I try to do a lot of things and fail, but every time when I simplify, okay, this time will be 30 days with Instagram, another one with 30 days with waking up early, or I don't like, 30 days like just like silly number. It doesn't have to be. I mean, like stay slightly longer with it. Like with waking up, for me still, all my life I've been like, late person, and now I try to force myself to do it. And I use Instagram to be accountable as well. Like sometimes when I didn't want to go for a run, I post the photos on my shoes at the evening. So I was like, I'm waking up, I was like, I posted already. People know I said I'm going to run. So I will keep myself accountable towards them.
That's a good way of doing it. You often post with the time as well.
Just put timestamp, so I can refer to it in the future.
Really?
So I can see what was the time in the scale, and for me, give a bit of more credibility. It's here and now. It's not. Of course, you can manipulate time. That's for sure.
Yeah.
If you save in a certain way, so you can change the time. Like you can wake up late. It's like for me, and for me, the other thing is. When you post that, it's very important to post like the bad stuff as well. I don't post too much bad stuff because one of the things not too many people knew about the cancer, because I never, like recently I start talking about it more and more. And I tell you why, because one of my promises to myself, I said like, I'm not going to cry. And the other things I said to myself, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. So not sharing with anyone else, I didn't want to hear sorry from anyone else. And actually then when I decided to share with the people, no one feels sorry for me, which I was blown away, because I don't know, that was just how I thought it would be, because I didn't want to feel sorry for myself. I didn't want anyone not to get soft. And I'm a huge fan of this kind of USA Navy SEAL mantras.
Yeah.
This is how my life, like all the discipline. There was a guy who Jocko
Willing.
The discipline equals freedom.
Yeah.
I believe in that. I would tattoo this, but I don't tattoo my body. So I really believe in that. And I mean, not like I'm a huge fan of USA Army. I mean, I read his book, which is, what's the title of the book?
Extreme Ownership.
Extreme Ownership. And this was, for instance, another, small game changer in life. Like, I own everything what I did. Like, I'm responsible. Like, cancer happened to me, but I'm responsible how I react to that. And I got from here and from Tony Robbins as well. Like, it doesn't matter what happened. You cannot control what happened to you, but you can control how you responded to it. Yeah. And that's just, for me, that's like one of the biggest hacks in life.
Yeah.
Because, it's just simple. Like, oh, you've got a cancer, so what? How you can deal with that? Or your business doesn't go this way, or your girlfriend left you. Like, I cannot control I got cancer. I cannot, manipulate person to stay with me for the long run. I cannot, sort out everything with the business or economy. Like, how I can respond to it. And this is so liberating. It brought so much peace in my life. And I believe in discipline, honestly. It did a lot of good for me in life. I forced myself to not being able to run, to do Spartan races, just to challenge myself to live my life to the fullest. Because at the back of my head, I've got this, warning sign that it's you don't know how long you're going to live.
But we all have that. We all have a limited amount of time, and we don't know when it's going to end. But I think.
But mine's like beeping.
Well, yeah, because you've had that sort of like
become very real,
exactly.
tangible.
Yes. Whereas most people, or a lot of people, go through life without that, and take for granted the time that they have here.
But it's normal because it's not tangible. It's not until like how you can tell about, write a book about the broken relationship or broken heart if you've never had one. You can read research, but all experience, like what I'm grateful that I experienced a lot of things in life. I've done a lot of things in my life. It's not just only, I can show off how many things I try or skill. Like this is what I've learned. It's embedded in my body, like finding cancer or going to university or working on the movie set or being in trouble in life, testing, like living in a different country, honestly, like so many things. And this is why I'm trying to push and get as much as experience as possible. I was excited to coming to you because, wow, that's the experience. Can I contribute somehow to others? What I can learn, like that's another experience. I'm excited. Nothing can beat that, honestly. It might be simple, even like going for a walk or going for a trip. I just got from Isle of Arran, and I was always thinking, what I can learn from that. I broke my streak with the meditation. What I can learn from that. But everything, like if I've got the discipline equals freedom, like give you more time. If I can discipline myself to wake up, do this, if I can discipline myself to be more organized and push my business forward. Like if your business grow, you've got more open doors. You've got more free time, which you can meet more cool people. Like you can have more time for your girlfriend. Like I see just only benefits.
Yep, definitely. That, which actually you mentioned it there, and that was going to be my next angle of questioning was around growing your brand, growing your business, any sort of networking things. I mean, how does that all work?
I remember when I went to the first one when we decided to go for IDF Onman, and I went to Business Gateway. I was like, honestly, and I'd like saying like, oh, so what do you do? I don't have a business card. Like you go and handshake with people. What do you do? Like you have to introduce yourself. Like that was so awkward. And then, as I believe class team is like, okay, how I can be better at that?
Yeah.
So what do you be better? You have to go to as many as possible. And I met so many cool people over. Like I was like the networking guy at some point.
Really?
Like from honestly everywhere, like through Entrepreneurial Spark, Business Gateway, different events, even like, Tony Robbins went event to see Gary Vaynerchuk and all this kind of bits and pieces. Like, and I learned how to communicate with people and how to be better at this. Of course, you can always be better, which is my aim, but how to open your mouth, how to meet strangers, how to start the conversation, and that's practice, and of course I was educating myself. Might like read something like how to meet friends and influence people. You read and you apply and you go. And how you can meet the careful of your life, like. If you lack a certain skill, can you educate yourself? Go and practice. Go to nightclub and practice. To meeting people, to start a random conversation. Go and speak to the random girl. Like that's a different story, long story. But go out and practice. And along the way, if you don't have some question, ask someone or get some book. Like there's some on every single subject. There's probably at least 5 books written. Read something and then go and practice. You have to embed it in yourself. And then I become better, like for 3 years, meeting people, getting business card. One of the things like, taking selfie with them and, write embedded some thoughts on it, some titles, whatever. And that was a good journey, like, taking massive action. It's always, it's either, work on the business. And there's a lot of people become like, good friends I can refer. And once I switched from On-Man Greg to Create Greg, most of the work came through word of mouth. I have not finished my website yet because I still, like almost putting together how I can niche out what the really problem of people and businesses I can address. But a lot of things come because I met some people, they like me and they believe I can help them out. And I
like it. Awesome. Greg, that's like nearly an hour and a half.
Wow. I talked too much.
Should probably no, not at all. I've absolutely seriously, man. I've loved speaking with you.
Thank you very much.
And we should cap it today because we never know. We'll get you back at some stage with someone else. Maybe have Jason or Mike or somebody and do.
Wow.
That would be interesting.
Then they will
geek out on film stuff or extreme unicycling.
I've never tried it one yet, but with the small heroes, like I've already made decision that the first one will be with Jason.
Really, yeah.
We know that we just need to sit down and talk about the details.
That's so
But he's got incredible, story to tell, and his idea, behind to inspire people to go into fitness. Michael Ujola, I hope I didn't, mispronounce too much his surname. Is the same. And there's a lot of cool people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fitness space was mine because of working on the sportswear brand, but there is from different walks of life, and I need to figure it out how to make it happen, how to make sustainable, how to promote that and bring value. Everyone of us can create and post. And the thing is, if you can create some positive stuff which will give people entertainment and maybe give them some valuable insight and leave them with some takeaways which will help them. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Might be random things, as the random for me was like posting, selfie or doing on preparation to Spartanize every morning at the gym. And some guy started thinking about it and, decided to take action or whatever.
Yeah.
So if someone watched this one, people say, oh, it's boring when I heard. What's the guy? He's from, what was his surname? Create what? But maybe someone watched and said oh, we are all entitled. We can post on social media. So why not to post something that will bring the value?
Definitely. Yeah. So if anyone wants to find you, you're on social media at Create Greg.
Everywhere. That's the way of the branding. Create Greg. Make simple for simple for people. Like Create Greg and creategreg.com. It's coming soon. And
I look forward to seeing that.
I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. I need to change my bit of strategy because it's not progressing in the way I want it. So as I mentioned, I go to the place because
I'll give you 30
skills.
days to finish it, Greg.
No, actually, I had this conversation with great Mike McGrail, and he actually wrote on the piece of paper, "This is what you need to finish in a week. I will keep you accountable for that." Thanks, Mike, for that. I will. Now it worked for me because it's more to discipline. I've never been to military. I managed to avoid in Poland.
Yeah,
I didn't want to waste it was back in 2 years of life for me. It's first month or two is some useful because you're shooting or whatever you do there, but then you just need to sit there on your ass and do nothing. You just sit there and do nothing. So I didn't want to waste my life, so I went to uni, and I was actually uni, if you study you don't have to go to army. So but yeah, now I would see myself in army just to get more discipline.
Wow.
If it's needed.
Okay. Jeez. Yeah, I know. I'm going back to the website. I know firsthand how difficult that is, but I got mine finished eventually.
Yeah, but sometimes we make things more complicated.
Yeah, I know. It's the thought of it often.
My bad is I wanted a lot of things perfect right off the bat.
Yeah.
That's my thing, and even posting on a social, I to lower my standards to go for more of a quantity, but I have to figure it out. But I know I need to go different about it than I was thinking because it takes more time. Yeah. But 30 days. Done.
Let's do it.
4.
Oh, Greg, as I say, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I hope if anyone got to the end, they will benefit somehow from it.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, amazing. Actually, hats off to you for putting all this kind of effort, because it's not just only we have a sit and talk. Not too many people know that you have to edit. Inspired Edinburgh, you have to have a sit and do the cuts, all this kind of stuff. It's not and done.
That
you have to put the
time.
effort and it's a longer form of conversation. For a lot of them, you prepare, and there's a lot of things behind the scene which people don't see. You just only see either 10 minutes clip or 1.5 hour, and you do your best, and a lot of people benefit. And it's with the small heroes things, the same concept for me is you will never know how you can provide the value for people, because how many people text you, hey, listen, I listened to this interview you did with this or that person, and it made me thinking, or they don't even realize 10 years down the line their life got better because 10 years before they just stumble upon or someone recommended, and you will never know that. And maybe it's the guy who is finding cure for cancer. And I don't mean you partially contribute to that. I believe in that. Is this called butterfly effect? I believe.
Yeah.
So small things, which is one part might cause the other one. And I believe in that. If we all try to do our best for others, as you do with your show and Inspired Edinburgh, you might change the world for better, not even knowing that, because no one say like, "Oh, I found it for granted." By the way, I remember when you don't mind even remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's possible. You will never know, but you might become the small hero of a huge change in the world because you decide to put some good content instead of us putting some other stupid things like some prank or whatever. I know some pranks are good, but your decision. So hats off actually for you, your time, and man, appreciate being here. And yeah, my dreams came true. As I see, I saw you 3 years ago, and I knew I have to learn English to be here and do some other good stuff. And you reach out. So
here we
man,
are.
thank you for making dreams coming true.
It's a pleasure, Greg.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Cheers, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you very much.